Hello, everybody. Good morning, Manila. Good evening, everybody in the US and this side of the world. I'm Marceline, and we're doing another show with some 90s throwbacks. I still don't have a name for this show. I keep saying Decada Nobenta. For those of you who've stuck around from the NU 107 reunions, hello. I think you're going to enjoy today's show. These two beautiful ladies have become my friends living here in California. So it's really funny to reconnect. One of them I did hang out with back in the day, and one is a new friend. So today we have G Tongi. Here you are. She's coming up. Hi, G. And our other buddy, Belinda Panelo, who you might remember as VJ Belinda. So, hi guys, how are ya?
On
Okay,
lockdown.
we're
Oh, by the
okay.
way, it is the 4th of July, guys. So
That's
that's
right.
why we're home. No fireworks today. Um,
Happy Independence Day.
In America.
I, I know in America. I don't know if you guys remember, but I remember in the Philippines they celebrated it as Phil-Am Friendship Day. Can you believe that? So it was like our excuse
It's
not to have
weird.
school. It is weird now that, but it was I think the excuse so it was also a holiday. Um, there's much to think about that friendship stuff, but that's a topic for another session. And I know you guys, you grad students, you would really get into that. We can get into that. But today, it's just going to be about reminiscing. So, something you have in common, both of you, you were MTV Asia VJs. Can you walk me through the timeline? Who came first?
So I
You
think
were first.
I came first. I was 19 at the time. I believe it was 1997. And I remember I was asked by a man by the name of Ian Carlos.
Who watches all our broadcasts? Hi, Ian.
Yeah, he invited me to audition, and I went to his studio in, I believe it was along the Manila Bay. What
Yeah,
Rojas Boulevard. Oh my
Ross
God, how could I
Boulevard.
forget? So yeah, I auditioned that afternoon, and it was so brief that I thought like, wow, did I even get that? Because I was asked basically to introduce a video, and I remember exactly the video I introduced. It was Psychosomatic, Addict Insane, Chemical Brothers. And I just remember doing a lot of like energy, and then he was like, "Okay, thank you." And I was like, "Oh, that's it." And then I found out I got it, but I remember auditioning, going, "Nakuha ko ba yun?"
Yeah, and at the time it was like super different from what you were doing, acting or modeling. That wasn't it, right? The whole VJ thing. It's funny, it's one of those jobs that I don't does it even exist? Because MTV doesn't even play music anymore. Okay. Um, so Belle, I do remember the VJ hunt being in like Mega Mall and stuff like that.
Oh
So
my
walk us through what
goodness.
happened the year after for it was the year after that you came in, right?
There was no. I joined the VJ Hunt.
Okay, tell us how that
Um,
happened.
I saw actually. I had just moved back to the Philippines, and I saw MTV on TV. I actually saw Giselle. That's the first time I saw her was on MTV, and I saw a couple other Filipino people on there, and I think Francis M, and then I saw Danita, and I was like, huh, that's an interesting job. And then they had like an
Mm.
advertisement for a VJ Hunt. And I was like, paano kaya yan? You know? And I needed a job at the time because I had moved out of my dad's house and I was living with my boyfriend, who is now my husband. And I was like, man, I need a job. He's like, yeah, you need a job. And I was like, paano kaya yan? So I knew I didn't want to go to Mega Mall kasi we went and ang haba ng pila. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like going to take forever. So we asked one of the producers who ended up being Love Andaya.
Mm.
Um, and she was like, oh, just send in a tape. Pwede yun. You can mail it in or you can drop it off in the office. So my boyfriend recorded me introducing, I think it was a Madonna video. I think it was it was like Vogue or something like that. Basta, I introduced, of course, an older video. Um, and then I dropped it off, and then I got a call back, and then I just became a part of this whole VJ Hunt thing. That's
Oh
how it started.
wow.
Yeah.
Did you ever plan to be on TV?
Um, Yes and no, because I was living in Seattle before that for a time after we had left Manila after Marcos was ousted.
Hmm.
We moved back to Seattle and I was working, but on the side, I was doing like commercials, I was doing extra work on films, on local indie films. So parang I was playing with that, but it wasn't really like this is what I want to do with my life.
Yeah. Oh
And it's
wow.
so it really just kind of fell into my lap. I saw Giselle on TV, and then I was like, parang I like that. I like music. I like MTV. Why not? So it was a
How
privilege
cool.
for sure.
You actually stayed on for a while, right?
I left in 2003, so not really that long. 1999. Oh my gosh.
That feels
19
so.
But I still remember the launch. It was at
Parang weird to say 19, right?
Aviary.
1999 to 2003. So not that long, really. I think there were
You
there
know.
were people who were longer. Like Casey stayed on longer than that. Much
Oh,
longer.
okay.
And sabay kami
No.
nag-start.
Yeah, you know why I think it's long? Because when I look at it now, going through this whole pandemic thing and my nostalgia trip, because I don't know, cabin fever, we're stuck, so you keep reflecting on things. It seems like we did so much over such a short time.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
It does feel like that.
Okay, we lost G. I hope she comes back. So let's do you solo. Are you
Oh
ready
no.
for a little thing
Oh
I dug
no.
up?
Oh
Okay.
yes. I'm excited.
I'm sure you've seen this. Okay, we're gonna flashback. If you guys don't remember the supposedly crazy, diba, that was your peg, parang. She was the crazy fun one. Here we
Yeah.
are. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Oh, I'm gonna take myself out so you can watch it yourself.
Okay, ay naku.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the red carpet show, the very first ever 2002 MTV Asia Awards.
Oh, no, no,
Boy,
no.
it's
Okay,
getting
okay.
crazy here.
It's going completely crazy.
I know.
The fans are all backstage behind me screaming. The
I
stars
know.
are arriving, and it's going to get really, really bizarre
I
as we
know.
go further and further on.
Yeah, and tonight we're going to have a lot of amazing performances by like POD, Regine Velasquez. We're going to have Ayumi Hamasaki and a lot of artists performing as well. It's going to be wonderful. We've got an artist just walking by right now as we speak. And actually, one of the things that is like staple at a lot of MTV awards is like the mosh pit. And I think
The
you need,
mosh pit.
I didn't see
Okay,
anything, so whatever
but you
it was,
could
it's a
hear your
surprise.
voice. It was a video of you at the what do you call this? 2000 MTV Asia Awards with the other VJ Nihil or something like that.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, that's towards the tail end. I did find more videos of you, but I think your husband posted them, so they're in private mode. But I saw them. It's like you
Okay.
doing the weather, interviewing Matchbox 20 and stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah.
So, what was like your fondest memory from that
Wow.
time?
Wow. Wow. I can't just pick one. It really was such a memorable time in my life because I was thrust into this community of people that I had never thought that I had imagined being a part of. Not just the music industry, not just all the artists that we had to interview, especially in the Philippines. People that I had only seen on TV. Like bands and artists like Sharon Cuneta and sino, like those big, like big artists, and like all of a sudden I'm interviewing them. Ano ba to? It's weird. So I was kind of like, um, an outsider looking in, I felt like, because I
Mm.
never thought that I had earned my way into that circle. So I always felt like I was back here. I'm interviewing you, but I'm not really a part of this circle because, one, I'm not really an artist. I don't sing. I don't act. I don't dance.
Yeah.
And it was just a privilege to be a part of it because we got to go to parties. We got to, that was our job, to cover
Yes.
parties. And when
Yes.
you're in your 20s, I mean, that's the dream job.
Did
Free
you have,
food,
yeah,
free
did you,
drinks.
free drink? I know. Did you have to move to Singapore at some point, at any point?
No, we just would fly there once in a while because at that time there was an office na in the
Oh,
Philippines
okay,
at
right.
Richmond. Parang Richmond Plaza ba yun? Parang Richmond Hotel ata, parang ganon.
Oh.
Di ba? Um, and no, we would just get to fly in and out, and also go to other places like Indonesia and Thailand, Malaysia. So it was such a dream. It was a dream. Like, I pinch myself, like, wow, I got to do that. My
I
passport
know.
was full of stamps from traveling all around Southeast Asia because of this amazing job that I had, and I still can't believe that I got to do it. It was a lot of fun. So
Oh,
grateful for it.
cool. Do your kids know that you had the coolest job ever?
They know I had a job. I don't know if they would think that's the coolest. Iba ng
Um,
mga bata ngayon. Like MTV, like you said earlier before we were live, right? You're like MTV. I mean, like, do they even have, do they
yeah,
even
they're like,
play music videos now?
and they're like, Mom, you were on MTV, like what, Jersey Shore?
Right?
Uh,
Ay, nako.
no, so I think, yeah, it was a special time. I do remember. So for me, my timeline, I had been working at NU 107, but by the time you were a VJ, I had started a graphic design studio. That was another thing that was um, going on at the time. The web was new, right? Internet stuff was new. But I do remember, like, who is this girl?
Oh my.
Yeah, because like you said, you did just come on the scene, and it's like, who is this? At the same time, Channel V was on, and Joey Mead was on that. So it's like
Yeah.
so many things were going on. It was really an exciting time. What do you think makes that's what our topic, the Cada Noventa? What's so special about that time? Do you think
The
the
90s or late
'90s?
90s. I
Yeah.
don't know. I feel like, for example, like 80s music and 80s music videos, they were I mean, like, I had, my show was Classic MTV, so I don't want to, like, dunk
Yeah.
on all 80s music, but it was different. Like, parang MTV was just kind of coming out, and so they were still kind of experimenting with how to make music videos, and the music was very, like, with the synthesizers, and they were experimenting with that type of music. I feel like in the 90s we went back a little bit to more like storytelling, and we were coming out of, I know this is parang history, we were coming out of, like, 80s, like, we're coming out of the Cold War, right? And there
Yes.
was a lot of, like, worldwide unrest, in a sense, like, parang, who are we now? Like, what kind of world do we want to live in and be in? And and artists, like, were breaking barriers, or they were like pushing the limits to what they can do and say. And I think we were kind of experimenting with that, and I think the 90s really captured that and appealed to a lot of people, even, like, to parang us, like, we were young at that time, right? So we kind of, like, for me at least, I lived vicariously through that. Parang I see, like, I mean, I never thought Madonna was an amazing singer, right? But at the time, she was so bold, and brave, and she was so comfortable in her body, in her skin, and her sexuality. And as women, it was like, to see that, it was like, that was it was uncomfortable, but it was like, hey, it's empowering. I kind of, yeah, I can kind of relate to that. Maybe I can't be as, in the world or community that I live in, I can't be as, as bold as her and wear a bustier and like walk
Well,
around, right? But you started to, I don't know, people started to express themselves in a much more interesting way, I feel like, in the 90s. Or maybe, maybe just because we're nostalgic for that time.
maybe.
Everybody always
Maybe.
thinks their childhood is
I
the
know,
best
I
time,
know.
right? So
Uh,
we're biased.
no, no, but you did catch it that we were coming out of the Cold War. Things were like fresh and new, and then for you personally, you had gone back. You were part of this wave of Filipinos, Filipino Americans, or mixed kids who came back to the Philippines. Your
Yeah.
fellow DJ. That's when Casey Montero also, right? He was coming
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
the States.
Yeah.
So it's like, so when you got there, and I know this from my friends that were there, suddenly there's all this opportunity in Manila.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So the vibe was so different. Let's bring in G back. I wonder what she was thinking back then.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Did you guys know each other personally? Did you guys
I,
know each other then?
I remember
Like,
Belinda
so I
because
can't hear her, so I don't know if she's speaking.
Oh
oh,
no. Okay.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
can't see her, so I don't want to
Okay.
talk
I
over
know.
her.
Hey guys, it's because she's on her phone. So, Belle, I'll just take you off. Then let's go to G, and then we'll do that. This is, technology.
I
technology.
Okay.
know.
Thanks, Belle.
Sorry.
I'll bring you back in a minute.
Sure, sure.
I'll
I'll
bring
try
you
to
back.
get on my computer now. Let try
Okay.
go.
See you. Okay. Hey, G.
Hey,
All
what's going
right.
on?
I know. So you've had like so much history, acting and all that stuff, but we're isolating the '90s and your VJ experience. I know before that you did. Uh, this is so sobrang flashback. The Music Bureau was before that, right?
Yeah, so Music Bureau was my first gig.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
before any movie, really?
Before any movie, that was my first gig, like for television.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
and I remember specifically going to the ABC Channel
Five.
5,
Yeah.
Channel 5 office in Makati to meet June
Uh-huh.
Pino, who was head of Channel 5 at the time. And I remember specifically because it was these two Lasalistas who
Uh-huh.
graduated, Mark Reyes and Dominic Zapata, who were going to do
Whoa.
this, music bureau show. And so I auditioned,
Uh-huh.
and that was my first foray into music and introducing music and bands.
So, were you having fun? Was it fun for you?
Looking back, I didn't know what I was doing. I was, these opportunities would present themselves, and I would readily accept because I had never had an opportunity to do all these things. I was meeting amazing people. I was hosting a show where my co-host was Francis M. And
Mm-hmm.
so every week I would be with Kuya Francis,
Yeah,
and
it's the
you
best.
know and of course I had grown up watching Francis Magalona, right? He was so to be in the same space as all of these artists was a little like, is this really happening? Um so I never took that for granted, but it was really cool how I got to meet all these amazing people because it
Mhm.
was part of my job. And just like Belinda had mentioned, yeah, we were invited to go to the biggest concerts, to either introduce the guests or be backstage to interview the guests. We got to travel all over Asia. I was offered to move to Singapore, but I
Singapore.
declined. Imagine. I declined. I was like, no, I'd rather stay in the Philippines, but you can fly me in every month. And so I did that. I flew
Wow.
into Singapore every for 5 days, and I would tape all my shows for the entire month
Oh,
in 5 days. I was
Oh, that's pretty
19.
cool. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, to think that it was just part of the stuff you did so much more. And speaking of meeting the stars and stuff, I did find some footage. Tell me if you can see it. Here it goes. It's coming up. Can you see it?
Yeah, that's with Mariah Carey. I
Mariah
remember it.
Carey. Okay,
Here.
one
One
question.
question.
You've
You've
got
got
a
a
new
new
album out,
album out,
The Ones.
The Ones.
Tell us
Tell
about
us
this.
about this.
Everyone in
Everyone
Asia
in
is
Asia is
excited
excited
about
about
this, and
this, and
hopefully,
hopefully,
we can get the CD very soon. So how is
So
that?
how is
It
that?
was
It
it's
was
actually what
it's
it is
actually what it is
because I did the
because I
duet
did the
with
duet
Whitney
with
and
Whitney, and
because
because
it was sort of
it
like
was
a
sort of like a
payback to the
payback to
fans
the
for making
fans
all
for
these
making all these
songs
songs
number one.
number one.
Basically, it's
Basically, it's
13 number
13
one
number one
songs that
songs that went
number one in the
number one in
U.S.
the U.S.
And I think for
And I think for
outside of
outside of
America,
America,
Without You
Without
was
You
number one,
was
but it
number
didn't go
one, but it
number one
didn't
in
go number
America,
one in
so we
America,
didn't
so
put
we
it
didn't
on
put it on
the album
the
here.
album here.
But
But
it's basically
it's
like just
basically like
thanking
just
the
thanking the
fans really
fans really
for
for
making the
making
songs
the
number
songs
one, for
number one, for
supporting me.
supporting me.
And then I did
And
some
then I did
bonus
some
tracks.
bonus tracks. I did
I sang
I sang
Whenever You
Whenever
Call,
You
which is
Call,
also
which
on
is also
Buttercup
on
Believe.
Buttercup
We
Believe.
made it,
We made
Brian
it,
McKnight
Brian
and I
McKnight
did
and
a
I did
duet.
a duet.
And
And
Sweetheart with You
Sweetheart
Made
with
It
You
Great
Made It
is on
Great is
there.
on there.
And
And
the song
the
with
song
Whitney
with
from the
Whitney,
Prince of
Prince of
Egypt.
Egypt.
And
And
what was the other
what
one?
was the
Oh,
other one?
Okay,
Oh,
I
I
need.
did a
did
remake
a
of a
remake
song
of
called I Still
I
Believe,
Still
which
Believe,
was
which was
originally
originally
recorded by
recorded
Brenda
by
K.
Brenda
Starr,
K.
who I
Starr,
used to
who
be
I
her
used to be
backup
her
singer
backup
when I was
singer
like
when I was like
17.
17.
And she's the one
She's the
who
one who
really helped me
really
get
helped me get
started. You know,
started.
she
You
was
know,
always
she was
trying to
always
hand
trying to
somebody
hand
my
somebody my
tape, and
tape,
she
and
was like
she
a
was
big
like a
sister
big
to me, so
sister to
that
me, so
was
that was
really cool.
really cool.
Oh, okay.
Mariah
Do you
Carey.
remember that? Yeah, do you remember that?
I do. I remember it like yesterday. They flew me to New York City.
Wow.
They put me in a really fancy hotel. For the first time, I got picked up in a limousine.
Wow.
I was 19. It was crazy. It was crazy. And then I'm trying to keep my cool, but I'm talking to Mariah Carey,
Yeah. Oh
right?
my gosh. So was she like that's a big star. Like had who else was like that you remember was the biggest star you met or anyone that's made an impact on you?
Yeah. So I really feel like I've gotten to interview so many of the stars that were promoting their Asia leg, and sometimes
Mhm.
they couldn't go to Asia, so I would go to them. But the most memorable by far was interviewing Maxwell in New York City at a club called Moomba. That was an interview that was only slated for like 20 minutes that carried on to an hour because we were just talking about, it was such an amazing experience to talk to Maxwell, who was so passionate about his
Music.
music and what he represented and his vibe. When someone talks and they're very contemplative when they talk,
Yeah.
you get sucked in.
Nice. That's what you
So it was
remember.
like this philosophical conversation with me, who's like a teenager. Hi,
Hi,
Belinda!
I'm back. Technology.
Woohoo!
The browser pala.
Browser
Okay.
pala. Ay, nako.
Got it, got it. I should remember that. Ikaw, Belle. Oh, nawala naman si, ayan. Who do you remember? Who was the most memorable for you? Most memorable interview?
For me, I know this is gonna sound silly. It was actually my very first international artist that I interviewed. Was Spando Ballet came to the Philippines,
Ooh.
and since I was one of the older VJs at the time, to me, I was like, "Oh my gosh, Spando Ballet!"
So true.
Memorable in a sense that I had such, I held them in such high regard, and I was so prepared and ready to, like, I had my questions that the producers gave me, but I also had personal questions. And then they showed up drunk, like like
Oh my God, I remember that cuento. Okay, go on, go on.
sobrang drunk, to the point where they were a little handsy,
Oh.
and on camera too. And it was so, I don't know, yung parang my idea of who these people were was shattered and it was like, but it was caught on camera, so you kind of just
You
put on
can't
this
react.
face
Yes. Uh-huh.
and you go through the motions. I went through the questions, but in the whole time I was like, this is so disappointing. I'm so disappointed, it was just, and I could see that, and a lot of reporters and journalists were there, and they were also excited to interview them, and they were all around, they were all scattered around waiting for their turn. And I remember that the artists were talking a lot, and they, parang, even though parang tapos na yung interview, they kept talking, and the
Yeah.
producer wasn't cutting. So I just kind of had to sit there and just go through it. And then they kept saying, like, like, keep stretching it, because they keep talking to you. So I think they like you. So keep talking to them. And then when the interview was finished, I was all like, gee, thanks, I walked
Yeah.
away, and some of the journalists were so upset with me. Like,
Oh.
yung nag-ano sila sa akin na parang inago mo lahat ng oras, and I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, I wanted this interview to end so bad. You have no idea. Like, parang I was so uncomfortable. I was so, like, new to this. I didn't know how to
Yeah.
carry myself yet, like, on camera. I didn't know how to react to, like, someone being very inappropriate. And then to have, like, your other, like, parang the other people that were also in the business to say that parang, oh, I just wanted to take up all their time and not give them time to interview these people. And I'm like, no, that's not true, but
Oh.
whatever. But so to me, that stuck out. Like, that was so, I can't, like, the other artists, parang, okay, we just kind of go through the motions, nobody really, like, was a standout, except for just my very first
The
interview.
negative one.
It's
But I
so,
was gonna.
isn't that
I don't know.
frustrating?
No, but I was. Yeah, you guys were young and beautiful, so I'm sure a lot of people hit on you. And I'm sorry it was on camera. Tsaka wala pang ano nun.
Wala
Wala
pang
pang
Me
Me
Too.
Too.
Wala pa. Right.
Oh my God. When you think about it, so many, right?
Mm-hmm.
We
Yeah.
always end up talking about that stuff. But yeah, but you handled it well. That's good. But you probably will never listen to a Spandau Ballet song the same way ever.
No, I don't. It's strange. Every time I hear them, like, my kid likes Spandau Ballet, and when I listen to their music, I'm like, like, I like this song, pero nakakainis.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so before we get too lost in nostalgia, I think let's bring it forward. Um, so, what do you think from that time affected how you are now, what you're doing? Like, I always look to that time and say, when you're young, you try different things, right? But I know that some of my experiences from that time and decisions I made are what has brought me forth to what I'm doing now, which is marketing mostly and being on camera with you guys doing this thing. What about you guys? Let's start with G because her journey, pang lifetime story yan.
Oh, totoo yan.
Um, Gosh, looking back at that time, it felt like we were, at the height of it all. That's how it feels like. Like every day was to be expended without abandon. Does that make sense? Without abandon. Like, I'm going to do it all. I don't care. I'm just going to do it all. And, I can say this because I grew up here in America. Going back to the Philippines and being one of those Philams that was opinionated and, talkative and kalog and just real. I feel like a lot of people gravitated towards this idea of, oh wow, she's speaking her mind, right? Because it was a different kind of Filipina,
Yes.
which would also get me in trouble. But it was a time where, like Belinda said, we went to the hottest parties, the hottest concerts. We knew all of the, all of the bands, and it was a relationship that we had with these bands. So it was really cool to be like, yeah, I'm backstage, or yeah, I'm opening the concert at the PICC or whatever. But looking back, it was just like every opportunity was something that was like, I'm gonna grab it by the horns and I'm gonna go for it. Um, so that's what I got out of the 90s. I was unabashedly and unapologetically myself, which
Ooh,
was liberating.
cool. What about you, Belle?
Um, all that also, but like how it's informed today, I feel like I thought that being in, I guess, the whole business of entertaining was something that I wanted to do for a long time. But after the Philippines and after moving back to the States, I moved to New York. You know, Giselle also lived there for a while. And I studied theater kasi akala ko, like, you know what, if I want to do this, I'm going to do it the right way. I don't know, whatever. I had this image in my mind of what the right way was, and I thought
Yeah.
it was to study acting seriously. So I studied theater in New York
In the
and
theater.
in the
Ganun.
theater to be a real thespian. And then, and then after New York, moved to LA and parang participated a little bit in this business, got an agent, did commercials, went on auditions, but I really wasn't happy. And I kept telling myself na parang, I feel like you're forcing it, Belinda. You're forcing this issue, and I took a couple writing classes and I found myself parang enjoying that more, enjoying expressing myself in that way instead, and just decided, and parang this whole world of like going back to school and getting my degree, that was always in the back of my head. And I had seen Giselle do it. We were working together in Oliver's shop.
Wow.
Nice.
And she was going back to school at the time, and I believe I was pregnant with Salma, right?
Mhm.
And she was telling me all about it, and I was like, this is always something I wanted to do, but it's never the right time, because I have kids and I had a child, I have another one on the way. Parang, how are you gonna go back to school? And she was like, no, ganito gawin mo, ganyan, ganyan. And I was like, you know what? I should just do it now, because it's obvious I'm not happy with trying to pursue, acting. It wasn't fulfilling me in that way. And so that's how I ended up going back to school and just falling in love with learning and discovering different parts of myself. And that's kind of what led me to it. But I'm so grateful for that time in my life in the Philippines of getting to do that, coming from nowhere and getting to do that. What a privilege. Like, who can say that? Like, dito sa LA, hindi pwede yun. You have to pay your dues, right? So, yeah.
Wow. Gosh, you guys are so grown up. I can't. I can't. I can't. Um, so what G was saying about grabbing opportunities and stuff like that, I know what you mean. It was like, and maybe it was because we were younger. We kind of lived life to the fullest, and we're really in the moment. If you're at that party, that was it. Like you didn't, kasi naman wala pa tayong kids or responsible. You didn't
Uh-uh.
think of what's happening tomorrow. But I know that whole time as well, the opportunities came from everywhere. Like it could be like even me, who is I'm not a model or anything. I have walked a fashion show just because it was there. It was an opportunity. Yeah, sure, I'll do that. Right? So that was a fun time. With regards to the Philippines, I also think it was an interesting time, having been under martial law for so long, and then suddenly I always say it felt like the economy was somewhat stable at the time because we could travel anywhere. Now kaya that's not gonna happen. We were opening up to Asia. I like telling American friends how different like MTV was, uh, here and in Asia, because for us it was Indonesia and Thailand, and we even saw like South Asia Indian videos, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it was just different, and I know it's different now, but maybe this lockdown pandemic thing is making us reset, and maybe we'll revisit some of those values and go back to it, right? What else? So, what are you guys busy with now? G.
Um, so I currently am at home with my teenagers. So that's a challenge in itself. I have a turning 15-year-old and a turning 13-year-old that are bored to death. And so, they're constantly, what are we going to do? And I'm like, what is there to do? So getting them out um, to just walk around the block. I've been trying to do that in the midst of, I also have a full time job. I am a marketing and branding consultant for a Filipino grocery store. And on
You
top
can
of that,
shout out. We can
yeah,
shout out Island
to
Pacific.
Island Pacific, who has 16 stores up and down the coast of California and Las Vegas. And in the midst of that, I'm also taking my master's for nonprofit management at Antioch in Culver City, which is now completely online until December 31 of this year.
Wow.
So
Jeez.
that's crazy. So it's a lot, but like Belinda said, I remember those times specifically because uh, Marcy, I don't know if you know, but Belinda is one of my dearest friends because our lives are very parallel in how we
I
Mm-hmm.
know. I
chose
know.
to live our lives, right? I left the Philippines. Belinda left the Philippines. I went to theater school. I went to Strasbourg. Belinda went to Atlantic, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
You
then
guys.
I moved to the West Coast. She moved to the West Coast. She already had
I'm
Devin.
following her.
No,
No.
but
Okay.
it's
It's
really
so funny.
cool. It's
You
really
guys were.
cool.
Oh, actually, I was because I'm older than you guys, but when you were in New York, which I knew about, because I was in New Jersey, man, with
Mhm.
my first kid. I had
What?
kids before you, so crazy, right? And then
Yeah. And then
Hilarious.
moving
we're
to
following the
California.
same paths. What's happening?
Mm.
Um,
All
okay.
three of us.
Yes, Belle, what are you doing?
um, Going crazy.
Two kids too. You have two kids
Yes,
also,
I
right?
have
Yeah.
two. I have one who's a teenager who just turned 16,
Yay!
who
Happy birthday!
who has been social distancing most of their life. So this is kind of like a walk in the park.
Yeah.
And then my 9-year-old, who's a social butterfly, and is just, you know, going nuts indoors. She's the
Oh
she's the
man.
one that really like misses school and her classmates and being
Aw.
outside and being active and doing things. And so am I. Like parang I'm so used to like being out and about. Like even though
Yeah.
wala naman akong lakad, I'm like I need to go somewhere. I need to. Maybe it's I'm over caffeinated all the time. Pero so yun, I haven't been working, which has been strange.
Hmm.
I worked so long. I worked for so long. When I started working when I was like 14,
Yeah.
and I've worked for so long, and then to have these past, because I was in school, and then after school, wala akong work. It's so weird, and so now I'm going back to school. Thank goodness. So I have parang a purpose, right? So I've just been kind of trying to keep it together, keep the household together, keep us sane. And whenever Giselle needs help, I'm a phone call away, and she's working on all kinds of things, and she's always
I
like
know.
asking, like,
She's our leader,
she
guys.
is. I'm telling you, she should run for office. She should run for something, and I will back her up and help her.
Oh my God. You don't, or maybe don't run for office, but you could be our Oprah, like,
Oh
Right?
my God, no.
G will be yes.
Guys, honestly, like the whole hosting, I'm really ready to hang up my hat. I want to find the new generation to sort of share and mentor, because we've been doing this for a long time, guys, and it comes naturally to us to be able to banter like this. But really, for the next generation, that's a skill I'd love to be able to develop in the new talent that's out there who are Philam. And I really have to say, Belinda, you've always been a constant in my life. When I need
Oh,
help, you're
Oh,
always there. So thank you, B. Thank you. And Marcy, you too. Like when we did the Filipino Fest, you were down to help.
yes.
You went all the
Yes.
way to
Let's go to that. I'm gonna put a little crawl. We actually reunited, all three of us. I had never met B in person, actually. Although,
which is so
fun
weird.
fact, I do know your husband pretty
Right.
well. So I was like, so weird.
It was
Uh
weird.
maybe I saw you and I'm like, who's that VJ? Whatever. No, just kidding. um, so it is a small world. For one thing, Manila is super small. Our paths would have crossed somewhat. So it's really weird that our paths are crossing and intersecting here.
Yeah.
You know what I think about? I go, oh my gosh, our kids are all going to meet and they have similar experiences being mixed Filipino and living here. And yeah, I think our parents were on TV at some point. Like weird, right? My kids are like, "Why didn't you tell me you did this?" I go, "You didn't ask." Or also, my life there is so different from here. Diba dito,
Mhm.
nanay lang tayo.
Oo. Hindi lang nanay, yaya, driver, cook,
Driver,
'di ba?
shooter, yes.
Oh,
Well,
ngayon
I'm
teacher
tired.
na, oo.
I do have to say, being a mom here is completely different from the Philippines, right? Pero masasabi natin na pinalaki natin yung mga anak natin.
Yes,
We moved that.
yes.
Right.
Yes, yes. We know everything about them. It's kind of creepy. Uh, okay, so I was telling you guys, we all kind of reunited at the start of the pandemic because G had, gathered all the forces to do a Filipina Fest, which actually inspired this whole live streaming thing because obviously we couldn't do a festival and we were crushed, but we found a way. That's the Filipino in us, diba? Found a way and G led us onto the virtual stuff. She's doing a lot of these virtual hosting things. And yes, I've also seen you not be on camera. So, like I said, your future is a technical director or creative director, who knows? We all work together at Film Arts LA. Tell us about Film Arts G. Are you the director of the organization, or tell us about that?
Yeah, so my relationship with Philam Arts ever since I moved to Los Angeles, Philam Arts has been the producers of the Festival of Philippine Arts and Culture. So every year they would do this big festival.
Mhm.
And I remember going when our kids were really small.
Yes,
I
yes.
remember Belinda and I would go. The kids were like sitting on Joseph's, shoulders. Like
Mhm.
our kids grew up going to this festival, this yearly festival, where we celebrated who we are at this park. And I used to just be a participant. I was a host, and then it evolved, and I became a board member. And then I was asked to 1 year produce the festival, which Belinda and Marcy also came to experience. And that was my real sort of understanding of the importance of being able to gather our community together. And it makes us feel seen in this country where, Los Angeles is the biggest demographic of Filipinos outside of the motherland. So to be able to gather everybody in the spirit of arts and culture was something that really resonated with me. And so, the organization took a break, and I stepped up and said, "Hey, we gotta get this back up." And
Mm.
so, since last year, I've been um, putting on events and trying to offer our community spaces to gather in celebration of our arts and culture. But because of this pandemic, we are challenged. But like you said, Marcy, as Filipinos, we are adaptive. And so we are trying to figure out how to best organize administratively so that we can continue the legacy of the organization. And that's why I'm taking my master's, really, is to learn how to do that in a sustainable way. And sustainability equals impact equals funding. So I've had to get over the most difficult part of the job, which is to be able to offer an opportunity for other films to give, so that we can continue the work. And that's really the hardest part of the job.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of work, it's a lot of work. I have a board of directors, I have a community that's interested and ready to participate. And it all comes from this passion I have to bring us together, because I don't know, maybe I'm living the 90s where it was so amazing
Maybe.
for us to just get together, right? America's a
Yeah.
challenge. So there's a challenge there.
What about you, Beam? You are involved as well? How are you involved, or were you involved in other similar organizations?
I'm involved because of Giselle. Like, if you notice how Giselle's face lights up when she talks about film arts or when she talks about the community, it's infectious, right? And
Yes.
she gets people excited to be a part of something. Because, like, before, yeah, we would go to the festival, we would, like, oh, we heard about something, oh, we'll go to it. But that was my extent. I think I take it for granted. I take the Filipino community for granted because I'm married to a
Yeah.
Filipino. So para sa akin, I'm always immersed in the culture. And my husband, Joseph, right? People know him as Puppet. He's like the Filipino, like, pati yung accent niya talagang hindi nawawala. And we eat Filipino food. My kids are all familiar with all the food because I'm constantly cooking. So Giselle was really the reason why I've been involved more in the community. I've always said to her, parang whatever you need, I'll help as much as I can. Sometimes I'm not as fast as I should be at helping. I know something is due, Giselle. I'm doing it this weekend. Um, and so that's how I've been involved in that community. It's really through her. If not, I feel like I would be really comfortable not doing anything. And I
Yes.
think that's the challenge. I think I'm that type of person that Giselle is trying to reach, right? Like those Phil-Ams that are just kind of going about their lives. Because our lives here are so busy, right? Like, I don't know what it is about living here that just makes, being a part of different organizations or being part of communities so challenging, and especially LA, because, let's
It's like,
just going from the west side to the east side is a challenge. And so having somebody like Giselle who kind of anchors the community or the organization has really helped. And if it wasn't for her, I probably wouldn't be involved in some of these
aw.
communities, because I wouldn't, you'd hear about it, pero, you're not really sure how can
Yes.
you be involved. No one has ever asked. I've
True.
gone to FPAC many years. Nobody has ever asked me, like, how do you want to be involved? How do you want to serve your community? She's the only one who has done that. And
You're
and
right. You're
I'm
right.
and I'm grateful for that. So I'm telling you, Giselle, if you run for something, I will be the first one out there gathering
I
signatures. I'm telling
know.
you.
I know she's gonna
City
be the best.
Council,
Oh,
game.
actually, you would be
No.
the best, but I'm so scared for you in these times, like the whole politics thing. But you're right. Well, like without G, she's the one who I was not connected to the Filipino community apart from, your personal friends and stuff like that. But like in a bigger way, it wasn't the G, and it's worked over years, diba? She'll invite you to one thing
Uh-oh.
and then another thing. I'm also grateful. She came over to watch my. I am in Orange County. You guys are in LA. It's really not that far, but people in Manila, it's like
Baguio.
traffic. Yeah. The distance with traffic. No naman. Parañaque to Quezon City siguro. But She came over to watch my ballet. Next time you
It was
should as well because we
beautiful.
had, yeah, so we had Filipino dancers in it. So I think that's cool too. We bring up the Filipino. My kids though go every time I say, "Oh yeah, that guy's Filipino or that actor's Filipino," they're like, "Mom, is everybody Filipino?" I'm like, kahit 1/8 blood, Filipino yan. We're gonna claim them all.
Right.
Just kidding. Um, I think the next step for us, it would be cool, like I said, is to gather our kids because they are the new generation, and I feel like um, they have a different awareness of being Filipino. You guys grew up here, and it was that generation where you just kind of step back and blend it in. But now they're pretty proud to be Filipino. Filipino food, which I'm really involved in with the chefs and stuff. That's coming to the forefront. We're close to I guess we wanted to kind of be mainstream in the way that, hey, what am I going to eat tonight, Chinese or Thai? No one's ever said Filipino, but I think
Right.
we're getting to that. uh, so we'll see how that pans out,
Yeah.
right?
Exciting times for Filipino food and Filipino coffee. Just want to say that. That's
Where do
Yes,
something
you
that
yes.
I
get
follow.
Belinda?
What are you
What's
thinking?
that?
Do you get Filipino like
No, but I'm aware of like there's Filipino like micro roasters. I mean, because
Yes.
I'm moving to San Diego,
You
and there's
are? Wait, the whole
yes,
family?
the whole family. We're all
Oh yeah.
moving August. But everything is online now naman eh, 'di ba?
Kaya
Even
nga,
our
why will
even
you move?
I know. Well, because I don't know. I don't know why even if it's online. I like change. I'm restless.
Okay.
I like seeing. I like being in new places, and
San
so
Diego's chill too. That's a great place to move to.
yeah, and and right now they're they kind of their infection rates are a little bit lower than LA.
Oh my God.
So that's promising. But there's some Filipino like coffee shops that are popping up here and there, or Filipino owned
Yes.
coffee shops.
Yes.
And since
Yes.
coffee is like I'm obsessed with it. It's
Me
something.
too.
I'm so
It's my
happy.
dream to make
Cheers.
like Barako and Bengue. Okay, cheers.
Oh my goodness. So there's
You know,
this okay, so like in Bakersfield, there's this new coffee shop that opened. It's called Umaga or something
Umaga.
like that. And
Yes.
they do like
You can
barako, right?
Yes, you can order their pour over things and you dunk it in
Nice.
your coffee.
I
Maybe
know.
I'll
I've seen
order
them
I'll
do
order
like
for all of us.
ube, all kinds of ube things. But there's one in San Diego called Mostra.
Mostra.
Yes, yeah. So I'm
See,
excited
okay.
to like get some of their beans and see how what they're doing. But it's exciting to the Philippines should be exporting coffee.
Yes.
We have the right climate for it. I just don't
Yeah.
think we have government backing. There's
Yep.
no subsidy. I don't know how that works in the Philippines right now, pero parang they need to have like subsidized, for the farmers to like invest in that, because coffee is such a big thing right now, and I feel
Yeah.
like the Philippines could really, benefit from that.
I
Pero
think
who
you
knows
might
right
make
now?
it happen.
What's that?
What's that?
I think you can make it happen because that's what
Mm?
you're taking for your masters, right?
Yes, I
What?
am studying policy, pero my focus really is on education,
Mm.
disparities, especially amongst children of color. So, but of course, policy in general, trying to
Shape
see
that.
how policy is effective or how it's working is something that I am fascinated with. So who knows where it brings you? Because you'd never know. Like you could have an idea of what you want to do, right? And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden life takes you somewhere else. So I'm open to all kinds of things. But I would love to work with coffee in the Philippines. Oh my gosh, that would be a dream. Dream.
Let's do it. And then our coffee will back G's run for office. I'm
That's
just kidding.
right.
When
Think
you
about
put
it,
it out there,
Giselle. Think about it.
oh my God, so much fun. Actually, you said something in reliving the 90s. Maybe that is what's happening now. Because one of the things I miss about that time in our lives was just being able to work with the most creative people, right? And that's, I guess, as we were growing our families, we've been out of touch with that stuff, and now maybe, that's the gift of the pandemic, is we've stepped back and we have time to reflect, time to spend with the families, and time to connect. I've connected with you, you guys I've seen recently, but people that I have not seen or worked with um, in years. And out of that, there are new collaborations being born. Maybe this coffee consortium is going to happen. I don't know. It's just, yeah, if we focus on that and not the negative, tough stuff, because man, we get so depressed if we focus on what's going on in the world right now. So we can focus on the good things and live in the moment and plan for the future and stuff like that. Okay, as we end this, can you guys like take us out like you were MTV VJs and take the rest of us routines like, hey, this is G, blah 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 blah, something like that. Okay,
Oh
we'll
my.
come on, come on. Okay, I'm gonna take G and I off. So
What?
Belle
Wait,
will
wait.
start. Okay, think about it. Think about it.
What is that?
This is like your.
Kaya niya yan.
Wala, I haven't done this in so long. Seriously.
Okay,
Okay.
think of
Si
your.
Giselle lang, she's done this more recently.
Kaya nga, that's why interesting for
Oo.
you. If do you want G to go first? Let's let G go
Oh,
first.
nice. Ayan. Yan.
Ayan, yan,
Coming
yan.
to
May
you
props pa
live
siya.
from
May
Los Angeles,
props.
California. You've got these three Pinays, Belinda Panelo, VJB. Obviously, Marcy is with us from NU 107. We're coming to you live from Los Angeles with our pride as Filipinas representing. Happy to be here. Thank you for the opportunity, and stay safe in this pandemic.
Yon, what she said. Thanks, Marcy.
All right, we'll have to do this again. This was so much fun. VJB doesn't want to do anything. Fine, whatever. We'll give her time to prepare so that she comes back next time. Thanks all for watching. Please comment, and G and B, if you are able to watch live so that you can answer any questions, it will be LA tonight, 7:30ish, I guess. Just hop on when you can on the feed. And
Cool.
then if not, I'll send you the questions because, people like to ask questions.
Awesome.
Maybe thank you.
I'm ready.
This girl is a woman of many hats. That's all I can say. Thank you.
Tama yan.
Thank you all. Thank you, G. Thank you, Belinda. And thank you all for watching. Stay safe, wear your mask, and try not to go out and be creative. Happy 4th of July. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Salamat, Marcy. Bye,
Bye,
Giselle.
guys.
Have a good time.
Bye. Oh, let's bring this back just for fun. Nah.
Nice.
DJ in front of Mariah Carey. Okay, one question. You've got a new album out, The Ones. Tell us about this. Everyone in Asia is excited about this, and hopefully, we can get the CD very soon. So how is that?
It's actually what it is because I did the duet with Whitney and because, it was sort of like a payback to the fans for making all these songs number one. Basically, it's 13 number ones.